This is Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Not only is he a tech expert, he's a heck of a dancer. Kris Abel is here to join us. Throwback Thursday, Kris, 1999. Where were you in 1999? What were you doing?
Ooh, 1999. Thinking back. That was before the whole millennium bug thing. 1999. I'm trying to remember. Nothing too great. I had some sad news during that year, so it's hard.
Oh, it was a tough year for you. Oh,
it was a very tough year. I lost my father that year to brain cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your dad's name?
My dad's name was Tom Abel, and he was an engineer. He did tooling for the automotive industry. He had his own company. It was great.
Amazing that an engineer would raise a guy who likes technology, hey?
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's amazing. Well, thanks for telling us about Tom. I appreciate that one. That's very honest of you. Kris Abel here joining us. Kris loves tech. In fact, he has a model of the space station over his shoulder. If you could see us on the video call, this is the International Space Station. So this is like tech nerd stuff. And we are going into nerd for the athletes, though. I think this is quite fascinating. Visualizing, you see this with F1 racers. They're using the sims. They're visualizing the tracks. They've got the videos in front of them so they can see it and visualize it and rehearse it in their mind. Now, more sports are starting to do this, and it makes sense to me that goalies might be, for hockey, not goalies in soccer. What do they do, really? But goalies in hockey, this could be good for them.
Yes. So there was an app that came out almost a year ago called Sense Arena. This is a virtual reality game that was released for the Meta Quest headsets. And initially, it was kind of to reproduce the experience of playing hockey against your friends, virtual players out on the ice. But it had a training mode built into it for goalies. And this is interesting because it starts off with a video of an actual pro hockey player coming up, taking a shot, and then it quickly translates into a virtual sim where you can see the puck coming towards you. And so if you are playing it, you are now a goalie on the ice in front of the net, and it tests your reaction, your speed, and all sorts of other drills like that. This initially became something that was aimed at sort of regular sports fans, but the NHL goalies ended up picking up because they love the fact that this now gives them the opportunity to practice, to train in a way that is really, really good without having to go and get the ice. One of the problems with being, a hockey player is that when you need to train, getting to an ice rink isn't always convenient. You really need to have the experience of being out on the ice. And so having a virtual reality app that can give that to you, that proved to be of such benefit. So not only have we seen NHL goalies using this at home to do their training, their exercises, but several of them are bringing it to the games. Because as you're getting ready for the big game, the big night to happen, you can't just train, on land. They would pull out the headsets, the VR headsets, and use that as a warm-up tool before the game would actually begin.
That's fascinating. And it ties into the F1 part a little better than I actually anticipated, because that's really what they do. You can't race your multi-million-dollar car, put miles on it, everything else. And this would be amazing for a goalie that might be injured. And because you're still getting the reps, right? If it truly represents how fast the puck is coming, you're able to see more pucks coming at you faster, more reps. If you're saving it or not, I would imagine that probably doesn't even matter, because it's, the brain science of it, of the speed and the reaction time would be so integral. But here's the thing, Kris, that this gets me with. And with AI today and the studying of everything else, they can, with cameras, probably pick apart a star's tricks and be able to monitor what they're doing and how they angle their blade and how they change some of the things that they do and turn that into a video game. And if it were to get that accurate, it would mean that if you're about to go up against, Kris Abel, center for the Edmonton Oilers, you would be able to say, okay, well, I'm just going to watch tape on Kris from the angle of getting shot at constantly and learn some of your tricks. And that would put a whole lot of pressure on guys to change their tricks, because until it updates the game again, they've got your portfolio.
Totally. And you can imagine, I mean, this becomes a tool for the pros to be able to study as well. And I think that was the appeal, was it wasn't that you're playing against a virtual hockey player, but the hockey players that are coming up and taking the shots are real life ones. And so that includes scenarios that can be very unexpected. I took notice of this because I've been doing a lot of stories about technology over the years. And anytime that sports is involved, I find that tech has a hard time being accepted because a lot of sports athletes, they have their rituals, they have their routines, they have their superstitions in particular, and they don't like anything kind of messing with that. So there tends to be a bit of a wariness when it comes to technology. So the fact that you have NHL goalies adopting this to the point where the NHL stepped in and the game is now branded as NHL Sense Arena tells me, wow, okay, this must be significant if it's being adopted by people who normally are kind of allergic to this thing.
That's quite amazing. Got to tell you, even you hear with the F1 drivers that you have a Lewis Hamilton that doesn't spend a lot of time in sims, Max Verstappen that spends tons of time in sims. So I guess different things for different people. Okay, staying with sports though, I don't know what happened on my algorithm on Instagram, but I am now getting ping pong like crazy, and I don't know why. I don't know what I did. Normally I get like tractors pushing dirt, but anyway, Google has trained a robot to beat humans at table tennis, which is interesting. That's got to be a fast robot.
That's right. So, I mean, we've had big tech companies, IBM before, trying to find a way to get a computer to win at chess. I know Google's played a little bit with that before, but they now are entering into the physical world. So they have taken a robot. Think of the robots that Tony Stark has in the Avengers movie, where it's just an arm with sort of a camera on top, the kind that are used for automotive. That's that kind of robot behind a table tennis. And then that robot, using DeepMind artificial intelligence, has been trained to play against human beings. So this robot can actually play table tennis against human players and do very well. In fact, Google brought in a long succession of players representing from beginners to intermediaries to tournament pros to come in and try their hand at this robot. And the robot, not having been trained, doesn't know anything about these players, had to adapt to the speed, to the accuracy of what these players would bring. And what's amazing is that the robot was good enough to be able to defeat all the beginners. Wow. Did only about half, just over half, 55% of the intermediaries, but has yet to be good enough. Google hasn't trained it well enough to be able to take on the pros. All the tournament pros ended up coming in, defeating it right away. They did amazing stuff with this robot. Not only does it have the speed and the accuracy to be able to match the movements of the human being in front, and it's very, very fast when you see video of it, but also it has, with DeepMind's artificial intelligence, it can do strategy. It can plan, it can anticipate, and it can surprise the player on the other side in terms of what kind of moves and returns it's doing. Watching the footage of it, I really enjoyed watching it. I thought, oh, this could be a spectator sport. But what surprised me was the response of the human beings playing against this robot. The way that they would light up, they would smile, the expressions, when there was a really good shot or a really good tricky shot, they would actually congratulate the robot with a bit of a wink and a smile, not just looking at the human spectators, but actually reacting and responding to the robot itself. You could tell that they were really enjoying the game that they were playing with the robot, that there was this sense of sportsmanship, that they were being challenged, that this isn't just about getting humans to teach a robot to become a better table tennis player, but the robot was teaching and pushing the humans to become better players as well.
That's cool stuff. When the robot beats Forrest Gump, you let me know.
Well, again, we'll have to use your earlier idea, and we can have the footage of Forrest Gump playing analyzed, and then be able to set up a scenario where the robot could play the Forrest Gump.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a robot actually built that footage of Forrest Gump playing it, but that's okay too. I love this. Okay, it's Throwback Thursday, and Kris Abel is here. Kris, if there was one store, we've only got 30 seconds. If there's one store that you could have back that's closed, what store would that be?
It's a store called Neotech. Back in Montreal in, I think, about 1990s that we're talking about, where I went to Montreal and I found this really cool shop called Neotech, and they specialized in gadgets. And I ended up getting my first talking gadget, which was a wristwatch. It had a woman's voice and it would talk. And I ended up accidentally putting it to the wash. And so she didn't sound anymore. Her personality went crazy.
We're going to have to leave it there, Kris. I love it. That's so cool. I love it. So what stores do you want back? You can text us now, 71010.